Tonight's story is not like the others. It begins quietly. In a place where something small changes everything. Stay with me. This is a tale from Talechka. In a small village nestled at the foot of a forest, winter had come early and harsh. Snow fell day and night, covering the rooftops like thick white quilts, while the chimneys could barely release the warm breath of the houses. The paths were buried, the trees bent under the weight of the snow, and the wind whistled like a thin flute among the branches. In this quiet white wilderness lived a grandmother, a grandfather, and their two grandchildren, Vanu and Kanito. The children were fair-haired, lively, and always hungry, and the grandmother was but kind, with glasses that constantly slipped down her nose. One morning, the grandmother decided to make something to warm them all, a wheat loaf. She took out the last of the flour, sifted it, kneaded the dough, and put it into the oven. Soon the house filled with the aroma of fresh bread. The children hopped around her like two sparrows. "Grandma, give us the loaf," Vanu pleaded. "We're very hungry," added Kanito. The grandmother pretended to be annoyed. "Hush now. Behave yourselves, or you'll see the spindle. The loaf, it's not here." "Where is it?" the children asked in unison. The grandmother looked out the window, wiped the glass with her sleeve, and said, "There it is. Running along the road. It went to take a walk around the field." The children pressed their noses to the window. Outside, the snow was falling in big flakes. The road was empty, white, and endless. But the grandmother wasn't entirely lying. The loaf really had run away. Yellow circle the loaf sets off along the white road. As soon as the grandmother left it to cool, the loaf jumped up, rolled out the door, and set off down the snowy road. The snow crunched beneath it, and the cold nipped at its crust. Soon it reached the edge of the village, where its first trial awaited. Rabbit the meeting with the hare. From the bushes sprang a white hare, so white it could barely be seen against the snow. "Loaf, loaf," he cried. "Stop. I'll eat you." The loaf laughed. "Oh, little hare, you are fast, but I am faster." And it rolled down the path. The hare leapt after it, but it slipped away like a ball of ice. Wolf faced the meeting with the wolf. Farther on, in the forest, it was stopped by a wolf, big, gray, and hungry. "Stop, wheat loaf," he growled. "I'll swallow you whole." The loaf pretended to be frightened. "Don't, dear wolf. I'm still hot. You'll choke. My grandmother told me first to circle the field, that's where I was born. When I cool down, I'll come back. Wait for me here." The wolf, foolish and hungry, believed it. "All right, but you must come back." "I will," promised the loaf, and rolled on. Bear faced the meeting with the bear. By a fallen pine tree stood a bear, large, shaggy, and sleepy. "Loaf, loaf. I'll eat you," it rumbled. "You can't, dear bear," replied the loaf. "I'm round and quick, and you're still not fully awake from your winter sleep." The bear tried to catch it but slipped on the snow and fell on its back. The loaf rolled on, laughing. Fox faced the meeting with the fox. At the edge of the forest, beneath a snow-covered fir tree, sat a fox, red, clever, and hungry. She didn't pounce right away. She smiled sweetly. "Oh, what a lovely little loaf. So golden, so round. You must sing beautifully. Will you sing me a song?" The loaf puffed up with pride. "Of course." It began to sing its little song, while the fox nodded and pretended she couldn't hear well. Oh, such a lovely song, but if you come a little closer." The loaf moved closer. "A bit more," whispered the fox. But the loaf saw its reflection in her eyes, hungry, cunning, dangerous. No, this one won't trick me," it thought. With a quick leap, it rolled down the path. The fox sprang after it, but the loaf was faster. Sheaf of rice in the winter field. The loaf reached a large winter field. Snow had spread a thick white blanket over the wheat. Only an old pear tree stood in the middle, bare and silent, like a guardian of winter. The loaf came closer and asked, "Is the wheat here?" A faint little voice came from below. "I'm here, sleeping under the snow." "Are you cold?" "No. I'm wrapped in a white blanket." The loaf smiled. "Good. Sleep well. When spring comes, you'll grow tall and become a golden ear. And then, a loaf like me." The wheat laughed softly beneath the snow. House the return by another path. The loaf turned to go back but saw the sky growing dark. The wind grew stronger. Snow began to fall even thicker. "I must return," it thought. Grandma and Grandpa must be worried. But it didn't want to pass through the forest again, where the wolf was waiting. So it took another path, through the valley, along a deeper road where the snow was softer and there were no beasts. It rolled and rolled, until at last it saw the rooftops of the village. House with garden home. The grandmother, grandfather, and children stood by the window. "Grandma, will the loaf come back?" Canito asked. "It will," said the grandmother. "It knows the way home." And just then, the gate creaked softly. The loaf rolled into the yard, flushed from the cold, but whole and smiling. "Grandma! Grandpa! I'm back!" The children shouted with joy. The grandmother gently picked it up, brushed off the snow, and said, "Oh, dear loaf, you are the cleverest loaf in the world." And from that day on, the grandmother always let the loaves cool inside, far from the window. If this story made your evening a little calmer, you can like the video and subscribe for more bedtime tales. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new story.